On the MTN News, mayhem at the mine.
And it's going to take a lot out of the local economy without having everybody there.
As Stillwater gets ready to lay off 40% of its Montana workforce, the Columbus community is bracing for impact.
It's going to hit, Stillwater County as well as Yellowstone County and the surrounding counties.
And lights, camera,
action.
Montana plays host to yet another Hollywood production. We'll take you on the set of this music video near Bozeman. Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us here at 4:30. I'm Keagan Harsha. Concerns are mounting in Stillwater County on the heels of news that Stillwater Mine, the county's largest employer, plans to lay off 700 workers in the coming months as palladium prices continue to plummet. That decision expected to take a big toll on communities like Columbus and Absaroka. Tonight, our Charlie Kleps has a closer look at that ripple effect, as many are now fighting lawmakers and others to intervene.
Those layoffs are sure to have a major impact on businesses like the ones here on Pike Avenue in Columbus and beyond. Layoffs are nothing new at the Stillwater Mine.
They've laid off people before.
It's something families know is always a possibility.
The mine does this every several years.
But the announcement this time that 680 employees would be losing their jobs and that the functions of 3 major operations would be reduced was on a scale that Stillwater County residents had never heard before.
It was just a different situation.
Sarah Hape and her husband saw the writing on the wall, moving out of Columbus 2 months ago after her husband had worked at the mine for 20 years.
He would be so upset about everything at work, like it, would change his attitude at home. And he, I think, realized that he was getting to that point again and didn't want to do it.
That decision, a tough one for someone who had always lived in Montana.
It was really hard for him. But I think it would have been harder having to go through this and not knowing what we were going to do.
You feel for all the families, that are involved right now.
The Hapes are just one of many families that depended on the mine, with many more still unsure of their future.
We don't really know what the impact's going to be yet.
Real estate broker Sean Russell says it's too early to tell how catastrophic these losses could be to the Columbus community, but it's sure to have a ripple effect on everything from homes and businesses to schools and even real estate.
We don't know yet of how many of those people are going to move or are going to stay here too.
Russell fears many may move once the layoffs happen. That could mean more houses available, and more homes would mean a dip in market prices.
There's a lot of unknowns right now.
Stillwater County Commissioner Tyrell Hamilton was out of town Monday, but in a statement hinted that commissioners saw the writing on the wall as well. Writing, quote, anticipating lower than normal revenue caused by the low price of palladium, we cut nearly $2.5 million from the 24-25 budget. We will now look at ways we can support the economic base in Stillwater County through our Economic Development and Planning Department.
It's going to take a lot out of the local economy without having everybody there.
And with many uncertainties still, one thing is true. There will be big changes for many in Stillwater County.
And I guess you just kind of hope that it won't stay this way, but it's going to be hard for a lot of people until it comes back.
In Columbus, Charlie Kleps, MTN News.
A Billings man is facing 2 counts of negligent homicide among a slew of other felony charges in connection to the death of 2 people over the weekend in Billings. That crash happening Friday night right around 7 o'clock when police responded to a disturbance in the parking lot at the corner of Broadwater Avenue and 24th Street West. Police arrested the suspect, 32-year-old Ricky Buchanan, but not before police say he fled in the vehicle heading east on Broadwater at a high rate of speed. Police say he struck 2 people in the intersection at 24th and both died at the scene. 4 people were injured in a 3rd vehicle. The man suspected in an apparent assassination attempt against former President Donald Trump now faces federal gun charges. Law enforcement officials accused Ryan Wesley Routh of pointing a gun at Trump yesterday while the Republican presidential nominee was golfing. CBS's Manuel Rodriguez has the latest from West Palm Beach, Florida.
Police body camera video shows the moment Florida deputies arrested Ryan Wesley Routh about 50 miles north of former President Donald Trump's West Palm Beach Golf Club on Sunday.
He never so much as asked what's going on. He just sat there really like he was going to a picnic.
Monday, the 58-year-old appeared in federal court as the FBI investigates the apparent assassination attempt on Trump. For now, Ruth's charged with possession of a firearm as a convicted felon and possession of a firearm with an obliterated serial number. Additional charges are possible. In court, Ruth calmly answered the judge's questions and appeared relaxed to the point of smiling in a conversation he had with the court-appointed public defender. Prosecutors believe Ruth was targeting Trump as the former president was playing golf about 300 to 500 yards away. A Secret Service agent spotted the gun muzzle peeking through the perimeter tree line and fired at it. According to court documents, Ruth fled, leaving behind an AK-47 style rifle, a scope, a digital camera, 2 bags, and a plastic bag with food. Phone records put him in the wooded area for nearly 12 hours.
The subject, who did not have line of sight to the former president, fled the scene. He did not fire or get off any shots at our agent.
But the Secret Service is under new scrutiny, especially after the July attempt on Trump's life.
There is no place in political violence for political violence in America. None. Zero.
The head of the Secret Service went to Mar-a-Lago to brief former President Trump. Manuel Bojorquez, CBS News, West Palm Beach, Florida.
Starting to see some changes in the weather even this afternoon, but really digging into tomorrow with the possibility of severe thunderstorms, especially to the east of Billings. We'll talk more about that coming up in a few minutes. By Wednesday, the wind is going to kick up region-wide. We could see some wind gusts hitting 65 miles an hour, and for some of the region, we could be talking an inch or more of total rainfall. And then once we start getting ahead into the rest of the weekend, it's going to feel a lot more like fall just before the official start of fall. Forecast.
Tuesday is National Voter Registration Day. What is it? Our Joe St. George has more.
Well, it's almost that time when ballot drop boxes like this one will be used in many cities from coast to coast. But before you can vote in this country, you have to register to vote. And that is something that both campaigns are tracking here in 2024.
In many states across the country, registering to vote early isn't as big of a deal because you can register on Election Day. But that is not the case everywhere, including in many battlegrounds. In Georgia and Arizona, the registration deadline is October 7th. In North Carolina, it's October 11th if you are not voting early. In Pennsylvania, the deadline is October 21st. Voter registration is in focus this week because of National Voter Registration Day, which takes place on Tuesday.
That's generally one of the biggest spikes in registration that we see throughout any given election cycle.
Tom Bonnier is with TargetSmart, a group that tracks voter registration data. He says the unofficial holiday is an important one in every election, but this year it may have competition for the most consequential. Data compiled from his group shows how much voter registration interest spiked following the Harris-Trump debate and Taylor Swift's subsequent Instagram endorsement post, encouraging people to register to vote. Former Ohio Congressman and past presidential candidate Tim Ryan tells Scripps News about the impact in Trump-leaning Youngstown, Ohio.
About 6 people walked into the Mahoning County Democratic Party headquarters, separate from each other, saying, "Taylor Swift sent me here to register to vote."
Both the Harris and Trump campaigns are tracking who is registering this year and whether Americans are identifying as Democrat or a Republican. For most of the year, TargetSmart data shows Republicans with an advantage over Democrats, with registering more voters. But that is starting to shift since Harris got in the race.
Democrats have been playing catch up. And the question is there enough time to close that gap?
Bonnier says Gen Z is registering as unaffiliated voters in larger numbers than past generations. And he's seeing a great divide between young women and young men.
The Gen Z women are actually becoming more democratic and progressive in terms of how they're voting, how they're identifying, whereas young white men are actually headed in the opposite direction. So you're seeing a bigger gender gap in partisanship.
Joe St. George, Scripps News, Washington.
Well, the closer we get to Election Day, the more news there is about it. While about half of Americans say they are following political news very closely, a new poll actually found that people say they need an occasional break from it. The AP and USA Today Facts Survey found 6 in 10 people say they have to limit how much information they consume about politics and the government just to avoid feeling overloaded or fatigued. Women were more likely than men to say they needed to limit their consumption of all types of news to not get overwhelmed. White adults were also more likely than blacks or Hispanic adults to say they need to limit the time they spend paying attention to politics. A new national survey shows more people are feeling hesitant about getting vaccinated this year. That poll was conducted by Ohio State University's Wexner Medical Center, and it determined that 37% of people have gotten vaccines in the past, but do not plan to do that again this year. That includes flu shots and COVID boosters, pneumococcal and RSV vaccines. On the other hand, roughly 56% of respondents say they have gotten or are planning to get vaccinated this fall, but only 43% are planning on getting a COVID booster. Adults 65 and older are the most likely to say they will get their vaccines this year. Medical experts say everyone 6 months and older should get both a flu and COVID shot, and that people 75 and older should consider an RSV vaccine. Lights, camera, action. Have you ever been curious what happens behind the scenes of a film set? Cassidy Powers takes us on the set of a large production music video that's being filmed just west of Bozeman.
The film industry in Montana has grown rapidly over the last few years. In fact, right now, I'm on the set of a high-quality production music video. So let's talk to the director.
Action.
Tesla Hastings is a born and raised Montanan. She's worked on numerous film sets as a production designer right here under the big sky. But this music video is her first go at directing.
I wanted to start directing, and I wanted to start with a music video instead of like a short film or something like that, and then make it different than what we usually film in Montana.
Tesla tells me Montana is known for their westerns, and she's worked on her fair share in the past, such as The Old Way, which was released in 2023 starring Nicolas Cage. But Tesla says she wants Montana to be known for more than just westerns.
When you think of this, you think Hollywood. Why Montana?
It's really to create this kind of opportunity in Montana so that we can stay here. We don't have to export. We don't have to go to LA or New York.
Because Tesla has been able to consistently work in the film industry here in Montana, I asked her,
how have you kind of seen the film industry grow over the years?
The tax incentive has been crucial for our film industry to grow, and since then there has been a definite uptick in film productions coming here.
In 2019, the Montana legislature passed the Media Act to provide an income tax incentive applicable to any media production. In just the last 2 years, film production in Montana has brought in over $312 million to local economies statewide. That Media Act is in effect until 2029. And if you were curious how much this production costs, Tesla tells me she was awarded the Big Sky Film Grant. They gave her a budget of $25,000, but that money doesn't only pay for the production.
This type of project employs a wide range of people. It trickles down into our local businesses, from the food that we order to the hotel lodging that we need. I get all my building supplies in town in Kenyon Noble, so it really, the money filters back into the state.
This music video is also for a Montana artist named Rosemary. In fact, you're listening to her song right now. And if you want to watch this music video, it's expected to be out in the next 2 months. In Bozeman, Cassidy Powers, MTN News.
Still to come on your MTN 430 News, scrutiny over the way wolves are managed in Rocky Mountain states continues. So we're taking some time to sit down with Montana's FWP to talk about how exactly wolves are managed in our state and why. And cooler temps are on the way as we slowly make our way into the fall season. We'll check back in with Ed. He's got your full 7-day forecast after the break.